The ship shook as it entered the docking bay. Taejin gripped the armrest of his seat and watched through the window. The station was massive. It stretched as far as he could see, larger than any city on Earth. Lights blinked across its surface like stars. Ships from 100 different worlds moved in and out of docking ports. Some ships looked like diamonds. Others looked like living creatures. His own ship, Earth's Pride, looked like a metal box compared to them. He stood up and checked his uniform one last time. The blue fabric felt strange on his skin. It was designed to show he represented Earth, but he knew it would mean nothing to the aliens waiting outside. To them, Earth was just another primitive world. Humans were newcomers who barely understood space travel. The door opened with a hiss. A wave of sound hit him. Voices and languages he had never heard. The smell of 1,000 different worlds mixed together. Taejin stepped onto the platform and looked down at the crowd below. Hundreds of beings filled the grand hall. Some walked on 2 legs. Some floated in the air. Others moved on 6 legs or slithered across the floor. They all turned to look at him. Laughter rippled through the crowd. A tall creature with 4 arms pointed at him and made a clicking sound. Its companions joined in. Taejin felt his face grow hot, but he kept his expression calm. He had trained for this. Haiwan had warned him that respect would not come easily. A guide approached him. It was a small being with green skin and large eyes. It spoke through a translator device that hung around its neck. The words came out flat and mechanical. "Follow me, human. The Queen awaits." They walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever. The walls glowed with soft light. Strange symbols floated in the air, changing and shifting like living things. Other contestants passed them in the halls. A massive warrior covered in scales glared at Taejin as it passed. Its eyes were cold and calculating. Another being made of what looked like pure light simply floated by without acknowledging him at all. Finally, they entered the throne room. Taejin had to stop himself from gasping. The room was enormous. The ceiling stretched so high above that he could barely see it. Columns of crystal rose from the floor, pulsing with energy. At the far end, on a throne that seemed carved from a single piece of black stone, sat Queen Lasara. She was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. Her skin was pale blue and seemed to glow from within. Her eyes were silver and looked ancient beyond measure. She wore robes that moved like liquid metal. When she stood, the entire room fell silent. "Welcome, representatives of the galaxy." Her voice echoed through the hall without any device to amplify it. "You have come to participate in the trials of ascension. For 10,000 cycles, these trials have determined which species are worthy of advancement, which civilizations deserve access to the greater trade routes, which peoples have earned the right to sit among the Council of Worlds." Her eyes moved across the assembled beings and stopped on Taejin. A small smile crossed her lips. It was not a kind smile. "I see we have a human among us this cycle. How curious. Tell me, small one. Does your world truly believe it can compete with species that have mastered the stars for millennia?" More laughter filled the hall. Taejin felt every eye turned toward him. His throat felt dry, but he forced himself to speak clearly. "Your Majesty, humanity may be young, but we learn quickly. We have faced extinction many times on our world. We have survived ice ages and plagues. We have fought wars that nearly destroyed us and found peace afterward. We are here not because we think we are better than others, but because we wish to prove we deserve a place among the stars." The Queen studied him for a long moment. Something flickered in her silver eyes. Surprise, interest. It was gone too quickly to tell. Well spoken for a primitive. "We shall see if your actions match your words. The first trial begins tomorrow. You will face the Crothian champion in the arena of proving. It is a test of strength and endurance. The arena's energy field will enhance your natural abilities. Most species find their power doubled or tripled within its walls." She paused and her smile grew wider. "Of course, if you have no natural abilities worth enhancing, the field will do you little good. You may withdraw now if you wish. There is no shame in recognizing your limitations. I will compete, Your Majesty. So be it. You are dismissed." That evening, Taejin sat alone in his assigned quarters. The room was small but comfortable. A window looked out over the station and the stars beyond. He activated his communication device and waited. After a moment, Haiwan's face appeared in the hologram. "How are you holding up?" she asked. Her expression was concerned. "They think I'm a joke," Taejin said. "They laughed when I arrived. The Queen herself mocked me in front of everyone. Let them laugh. Let them underestimate you. That's what we want." Haywan leaned closer to the camera. Remember what we discovered? Remember what's in your blood? The genetic markers we found don't lie. You carry something that no one else in that station has. Something ancient and powerful. But we don't know if it will work. We don't even know what it is exactly. It will work, it has to. The simulations showed that certain energy fields could trigger the dormant sequences in your DNA. The arena uses exactly that type of field. When you step inside tomorrow, something will happen. I'm sure of it. Tae-jin looked out at the stars. And if nothing happens? If I'm just a normal human after all? Then you fight with everything you have. You use your training. You use your mind. That's what humans do best. We adapt. We overcome. She smiled. Get some sleep. Tomorrow you show them what humanity is made of. The hologram faded. Tae-jin tried to sleep, but his mind kept racing. He thought about the Crothian champion. He had seen videos of the species. They were massive creatures with strength that could bend steel. Their exoskeletons were nearly impossible to crack. How could a human compete with that? But then he remembered his training. Years in the military, hand-to-hand combat strategy, finding weaknesses. Maybe he didn't need to be stronger. Maybe he just needed to be smarter. Morning came too quickly. The guide returned and led him to the arena. The walk felt like it took forever and no time at all. Other beings lined the corridors watching him pass. Some looked curious. Most looked amused. A few looked at him with what might have been pity. The arena entrance loomed before him. Massive doors made of metal that glowed with inner light. Beyond them he could hear the roar of the crowd. Thousands of voices calling for blood and entertainment. As he stepped toward the doors, something strange happened. His skin tingled. The air around him felt thick and heavy. Energy crackled along his arms. For just a moment his vision changed. He could see patterns in the air, streams of light flowing through everything. Then it was gone, the doors opened. The crowd's roar washed over him like a wave. Tae-jin walked into the arena, his heart pounding. Above him, in a private box, Queen Lysera leaned forward in her seat. Her silver eyes were fixed on him. Something in her expression had changed. The amusement was gone. Now she looked interested. And perhaps just a little bit worried. The trial was about to begin. The arena floor was smooth like glass but warm under his feet. Tae-jin looked around and saw platforms floating in the air at different heights. Some were small, barely big enough to stand on. Others were large enough to fight on. The ceiling was open to space, held back by some kind of invisible barrier. Stars looked down on him like distant witnesses. The crowd filled seats that rose up in circles around the arena. There must have been 50,000 beings watching. Their voices created a sound like thunder. Tae-jin had never felt so small. Then he saw his opponent enter from the opposite side. Gormath was huge. He stood at least 9 feet tall, and his body was covered in thick red scales that looked like armor. Each of his 4 arms ended in claws that could tear through metal. His eyes were black and cold. He looked at Tae-jin the way a cat might look at a mouse. A voice boomed across the arena. It spoke in the common galactic language, and Tae-jin's translator device worked to convert it to words he could understand. The first trial begins now. Victory goes to whoever forces their opponent to surrender, or renders them unable to continue. Death is permitted but not required. The energy field is now active. Let the trial commence. The moment those words ended, Tae-jin felt it. The air around him seemed to pulse with power. Energy flowed through everything. It pressed against his skin like warm water. His muscles tingled. His heart beat faster. The arena was enhancing him somehow, making him stronger. But he still felt tiny compared to Gormath. The Crothian champion didn't waste time. He charged forward with speed that shouldn't have been possible for something so large. The ground shook with each step. Tae-jin barely managed to dive to the side as one massive fist crashed into the floor where he had been standing. The impact left a crater. Tae-jin rolled and came up running. He jumped onto one of the floating platforms and used it to gain height. Gormath followed, leaping after him with frightening agility. All 4 arms reached for Tae-jin at once. He dropped flat against the platform and the claws passed over his head by inches. The crowd was going wild. They wanted blood. They wanted to see the weak human crushed. Tae-jin's mind raced. He couldn't match Gormath's strength. Even with the arena's enhancement, one solid hit would end the fight. He needed to be smart. He needed to use his training. He had studied videos of Crothian physiology. Their scales were thick, but there were weak points. The joints where the arms connected to the body. The neck beneath the jaw. The eyes. He jumped from platform to platform, staying just ahead of Gormath's attacks. The champion was strong but not patient. He was getting angry. Good. Angry opponents made mistakes. Tae-Jin landed on a larger platform and turned to face his opponent. Gormath landed with a crash that made the platform shake. Two of his arms lashed out in a combination attack. Tae-Jin used techniques from his military training. He moved inside the strike, closer to the champion rather than away. It was counterintuitive but effective. At close range, those long arms had less power. He struck at the joint of one arm. His fist connected and he felt something give. Gormath roared in pain and backhanded him with another arm. The impact sent Tae-Jin flying. He hit the edge of the platform and nearly fell off. Blood filled his mouth. Pain exploded through his ribs. At least two were broken. He struggled to breathe. Gormath approached slowly now, confident in his victory. The crowd was chanting the champion's name. Tae-Jin tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't work properly. His vision blurred. This was it. He was going to lose. Earth would be humiliated. Humanity would remain a joke to the galaxy. No, he refused to accept that. Humans had survived worse. They had faced extinction and clawed their way back. They had split the atom and walked on the moon. They had created art and music and stories. They were more than this. He was more than this. Something inside him responded to that thought. The energy field around him suddenly felt different. It wasn't just pressing against him anymore. It was flowing into him, through him, becoming part of him. His broken ribs stopped hurting. His vision cleared. He could feel his body healing itself at an impossible speed. But that wasn't all. His senses expanded. He could see more now. The way Gormath moved, the way his muscles tensed before each attack, the tiny shifts in weight that telegraphed his intentions. It was like someone had turned on a light in a dark room. Suddenly he understood the patterns. He could read the flow of energy through the arena and through Gormath himself. He could see the weak points not just in the champion's armor, but in his fighting style. In his very biology. Tae-Jin stood up. The crowd's chanting faltered. Gormath stopped, his black eyes widening in surprise. The champion attacked again, but this time Tae-Jin was ready. He didn't just dodge. He moved with perfect efficiency, wasting no motion. He could predict each strike before it came. His body responded faster than thought. This was beyond training. This was something else entirely. He slipped past the first two arms and struck at the champion's elbow joint. The hit was precise, targeting the exact weak point in the scales. Gormath's arm went numb. Before the champion could react, Tae-Jin moved to the next opening. A strike to the knee, another to the shoulder joint of the third arm. He wasn't hitting harder than before. He was hitting smarter. Each strike disabled a portion of Gormath's offense. Within 30 seconds, the massive champion was down to one working arm and couldn't put weight on his left leg. The arena had gone silent. 50,000 beings watched in disbelief as the small human dismantled the Crothian champion piece by piece. Gormath roared and launched a desperate final attack. It was clumsy, powered by rage rather than skill. Tae-Jin saw the opening. He moved inside the strike and delivered a powerful blow to the champion's throat, right below the jaw where the scales were thinnest. Gormath fell to his knees, gasping for air. His one good arm clutched at his throat. His eyes met Tae-Jin's, and in them was not anger but respect. The champion lowered his head in surrender. The silence broke. The crowd erupted in confusion and amazement. Some cheered. Others shouted in anger. Betting pools had just been upended. The impossible had happened. Tae-Jin looked up at Queen Lysara's box. She was standing now, her silver eyes locked on him. Her face showed no emotion, but her hands gripped the railing tightly. Next to her, a tall military commander was speaking urgently into a communication device. The voice boomed across the arena again. The human is victorious. The trial is complete. Tae-Jin walked off the arena floor. His legs felt weak now that the fight was over. The strange clarity he had experienced was fading, but it wasn't gone completely. It was still there, just beneath the surface. Waiting. Medical personnel rushed forward to check him. They ran scanners over his body, and their expressions grew more confused with each reading. One of them, a being with gray skin and multiple eyes, looked at him with something like fear. "Your injuries," it said through a translator. "They're already healing. Your cellular regeneration rate is impossible, and your energy signature keeps changing. I've never seen anything like this. Before Tejan could respond, guards approached. They wore the insignia of the royal family. "The Queen requests your presence immediately," their leader said. It wasn't a request. It was an order. They led him through empty corridors this time, away from the crowds. The celebration and confusion of his victory felt distant. These halls were quieter, more serious. They passed rooms filled with equipment he didn't recognize. Screens showed data streams and star charts. Finally, they reached a private chamber. The Queen stood by a window looking out at the stars. She didn't turn when he entered. "You may leave us," she told the guards. They hesitated, then obeyed. When they were alone, she finally turned to face him. Her expression was unreadable. "What are you?" she asked quietly. "I'm human, Your Majesty." "No." She shook her head. "Humans don't move like you moved. They don't heal like you're healing. They don't adapt and learn in the middle of combat the way you did. I've lived for over 500 cycles. I've seen thousands of species compete in these trials. What you did today was not normal." Tejan didn't know what to say. He barely understood it himself. The Queen walked closer to him. "There are legends, old stories from before my time. Stories about a race called the Architects who created many of the species that exist today. They disappeared long ago, but some say they left behind secrets, hidden potential in their greatest creation." She stopped just a few feet away. "I think you carry that potential. I think humanity is more than we believed. And that frightens you," Tejan said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," she admitted, "it does. The balance of power in this galaxy has been stable for millennia. If humans can do what you just did, that balance will shatter." She turned away from him again. "The second trial begins in 3 days. It will test your mental strength, not physical. Be careful, human. Some of us will not want to see you succeed." It sounded like a warning, or maybe even a threat. The medical facility was unlike anything on Earth. Machines hummed softly as they scanned his body. Holographic displays showed his organs, his bones, even individual cells. The doctors kept running the same tests over and over, as if they couldn't believe the results. Tejan lay on the examination table and tried to rest. His ribs were completely healed now. Not just healed, but stronger than before. The machines couldn't explain it. Neither could he. A message came through on his personal device. Not from Haywan this time. The sender was anonymous. The message was simple: "We need to talk. Come to Archive Section 7, Level 42. Come alone. A friend, he shouldn't go. It could be a trap." But curiosity won over caution. He told the doctors he needed to rest and slipped away when they weren't watching. Finding Archive Section 7 wasn't easy. The station was massive and the signs were in languages his translator struggled with. He took several wrong turns before finding the right lift. It descended for what felt like forever, taking him deep into the older parts of the station. The doors opened onto a hallway that looked abandoned. Dust floated in the air. The lights flickered. His footsteps echoed on metal floors. At the end of the hall, a door stood open. Warm light spilled out. Tejan entered carefully, ready for anything. Inside was a library of sorts. Shelves stretched to the ceiling, filled with data crystals and ancient books. In the center of the room, bent over a table covered in papers and holographic displays, was an old being. Its skin was wrinkled like tree bark and its eyes were cloudy with age. "You came," it said without looking up. "Good, I wasn't sure you would. I am High Scholar Nethra. I have studied the histories of this galaxy for 300 cycles. And in all that time, I never thought I would see what I saw today in the arena." "What did you see?" Nethra finally looked up. Its cloudy eyes seemed to see right through him. "The return of the Architects, or at least their legacy." The scholar moved to one of the shelves and pulled out an ancient crystal. It placed the crystal on a reader and an image appeared in the air. Beings of pure light, tall and graceful, working with streams of energy that bent to their will. "The Architects," Nethra explained. "They existed millions of cycles ago. They shaped reality itself, created worlds, designed life. Most of the intelligent species in this galaxy carry their fingerprints in their genetic code, but they disappeared before their work was complete. What does this have to do with me?" "Everything." Nethra changed the display. Now it showed DNA sequences, complex patterns that shifted and changed. The Architects had one final project. One species they poured all their remaining knowledge into. They wanted to create beings who could carry on their work, beings with the potential to reach their level of power. but who would grow and develop naturally over time. Tae-jin felt cold. Humans, yes, but the project was never finished. The architects vanished before they could complete the activation sequence. Humanity was left dormant with all that potential locked away, until now. The scholar looked at him with something like wonder. The arena's energy field triggered something in you, something that has been sleeping for millions of years. Tae-jin sat down heavily. His mind was spinning. So what you're saying is that humans are supposed to be like gods? Not gods, partners equals to the architects. But only if you can learn to access that potential properly. Right now you're just scratching the surface. Nethra's expression grew serious. You must understand the danger. If Queen Lysara realizes the full truth, she will see humanity as a threat to her empire. She has maintained power for centuries by ensuring no one species becomes too strong. She has destroyed civilizations for less. She already suspects something. Then you must be careful, very careful. Nethra handed him a small data crystal. This contains everything I've learned about the architects and their methods. Study it when you can. It may help you understand your abilities better. Before Tae-jin could ask more questions, an alarm sounded through the building. Nethra's eyes widened in fear. Security. Someone must have reported your presence here. This section is supposed to be restricted. Go. Now, use the back exit. Tae-jin ran. He found the exit and emerged into a different corridor. Behind him, he could hear voices and heavy footsteps. He ducked into a side passage and waited for the guards to pass. His heart pounded. If they caught him in a restricted area, they could disqualify him from the trials. Or worse. When the sounds faded, he made his way back to his quarters through the maintenance tunnels. It took hours, but finally he was safe in his room with the door locked. He activated his communication device. Woo-jin's face appeared, looking worried. Thank the stars, Woo-jin said. We've been trying to reach you for hours. There's something you need to know. We've been monitoring communications around the station. Military traffic has increased significantly, and it's all focused on Earth. What kind of military traffic? Ships, lots of them. They're positioning themselves near our solar system. Not close enough to be threatening yet, but close enough to respond quickly if ordered. Woo-jin's expression was grim. Someone is preparing for war, Tae-jin. And I think that someone is Queen Lysara. Tae-jin felt anger rise in his chest. Earth had done nothing wrong. Humanity had simply tried to prove itself worthy. And now they were being punished for succeeding. There's more. Woo-jin continued. Haewon has been analyzing the data from your fight. She says what happened to you is spreading. Other humans on Earth are starting to show signs of awakening. Nothing as dramatic as what you experienced, but the genetic markers are activating across the population. It's like you triggered a chain reaction. That explained the military buildup. Lysara wasn't just worried about one human. She was worried about all of them. What are our options? Tae-jin asked. You could withdraw from the trials, come home. At least then they couldn't say we were being aggressive. And then what? We hide? We pretend to be weak and hope they leave us alone? That's not who we are, Woo-jin. Humanity doesn't back down when things get difficult. I know. I was hoping you'd say that. His friend smiled despite the situation. Then you finish the trials. You show them what we're capable of. And you do it in a way that makes them respect us, not fear us. Is that even possible? It has to be. Because the alternative is war. And Earth isn't ready for that. After the communication ended, Tae-jin sat in silence. He pulled out the data crystal Nethra had given him and plugged it into his reader. Information flooded the display. Diagrams of energy manipulation, theories about reality shaping, techniques for expanding consciousness. It was overwhelming. But he forced himself to focus. If he was going to protect Earth, he needed to understand what he was becoming. He needed to learn control. Hours passed. He read and practiced, trying to recreate the feeling he had experienced in the arena. Sometimes he could feel it, that connection to something larger. Other times it slipped away like water through his fingers. The next morning, an official summons arrived. Queen Lysara wanted to see him again. This time in the throne room in front of the entire court. When he arrived, the room was packed. Every important being on the station seemed to be present. The queen sat on her throne, looking down at him with an unreadable expression. Tae-jin of Earth, her voice echoed through the hall. Your victory in the first trial was impressive. It has caused much discussion among the council. Some believe you earned your place through skill and determination. Others believe you cheated somehow using technology we cannot detect. He wanted to protest, but she raised a hand for silence. I offer you a choice. Withdraw from the trials now. Your world will be granted trading rights and minor diplomatic status. You will be recognized as a member of the galactic community, though a junior one. This is a generous offer. Most species would be grateful for such consideration. The hall went quiet. Everyone waited for his response. Taejin stepped forward. Your Majesty, with all respect, I must decline. Humanity does not ask for charity. We came here to prove ourselves on equal terms. If we cannot earn our place through the trials, then we do not deserve it. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Some sounded shocked. Others sounded angry. The Queen's expression didn't change, but her eyes flashed. Then you choose to continue. So be it. She stood and the room fell silent again. But know this, human. The next trial will test your mind, not your body. Many have entered the mind labyrinth. Not all have emerged with their sanity intact. Are you certain you wish to face this? I am certain. Very well. The trial begins tomorrow at dawn. She sat back down. You are dismissed. As Taejin left the throne room, he noticed a military commander watching him intently. The being was tall and covered in dark armor. Its eyes held pure hatred. This was Commander Ravith, the Queen's chief military strategist. Their eyes met for just a moment. The message was clear. The commander wanted him dead. And tomorrow in the mind labyrinth there would be opportunities to arrange an accident. Taejin had made his choice. Now he would have to survive it. The entrance to the mind labyrinth looked innocent. Just a simple doorway carved from white stone. But Taejin could feel the energy radiating from it. This was different from the arena. The arena had enhanced his physical abilities. This place would go deeper, into his thoughts. His memories, his very soul. Other contestants had already entered. Some had emerged victorious, their minds intact and stronger. Others had been carried out screaming, trapped in nightmares they couldn't escape. The medical teams were still working on them, trying to repair the damage. A technician explained the rules. The labyrinth creates illusions based on your fears and desires. It will show you things that seem real. The challenge is to recognize what is false and find your way to the center. Most species have natural psychic defenses that protect them. Humans, the technician paused, do not. We can stop the trial at any time if your vital signs become critical. Just know that stopping means failure. I understand, Taejin said. He stepped through the doorway. The world changed instantly. He was no longer on the station. He was standing on Earth in his hometown. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors of red and gold. Everything looked exactly as he remembered it. This isn't real, he told himself. But it felt real. The air smelled right. The temperature was perfect. He could hear birds singing in the distance, then he saw them. His family, his mother and father standing on the porch of his childhood home, waving at him, smiling. They looked younger than he remembered. Happier. Come home, Taejin. His mother called. You've been gone so long. We miss you. He wanted to run to them, wanted to feel their embrace. But something was wrong. His parents had died years ago. This was a trick. A beautiful lie meant to trap him. He turned away and the scene dissolved like smoke. Now he was in space, floating above Earth. But something was wrong with the planet. Red cracks spread across its surface. It was breaking apart. Ships surrounded the planet. Thousands of them, all bearing the insignia of the Veltheran Empire. They were firing on the surface. Cities burned. Oceans boiled. Billions of lives ending in fire. A voice spoke directly into his mind. Queen Lysara's voice. This is what will happen if you continue. Withdraw from the trials. Save your world. The image was horrible. Taejin felt tears on his face. But again, something was wrong. This wasn't a vision of the future. It was designed to create fear, to make him give up. Not real, he said aloud. The vision shattered. He was in darkness now. Complete and total. He couldn't see his own hand in front of his face. But he could hear things moving in the dark. Breathing. Footsteps. Something massive and hungry circling him. Fear tried to take hold. His heart raced. His hands shook. But then he remembered something from the data crystal. The architects didn't just resist illusions. They understood them. They saw the code underneath. He closed his eyes and focused. Not on what he could see or hear, but on what he could feel. The energy around him. The structure of the illusion itself. And slowly, like adjusting to darkness, he began to perceive it. The darkness wasn't real. It was just the absence of information. And the monster circling him wasn't a physical thing. It was made of fear itself, given form by the labyrinth. He opened his eyes and could see now. Not with his eyes exactly, but with something deeper. He could see the patterns that made up the illusion. Lines of energy woven together like fabric, and once he could see them, he could understand them. The monster lunged at him, but Taijin simply reached out and touched it. The moment his hand made contact, he understood its structure completely, how it was formed, what sustained it, and with that understanding came control. The monster dissolved. The darkness lifted. He was in a corridor now, similar to those on the station but subtly wrong. The walls shifted and changed. Doors appeared and disappeared. This was the true labyrinth, stripped of illusions. Outside in the observation room, Queen Lysera watched the monitors with growing alarm. Next to her, Commander Raveth smiled darkly. "Your Majesty, the safety protocols," a technician said nervously. "They're not responding. Something is interfering with them." "What do you mean?" the Queen demanded. "The system should allow us to pull contestants out in an emergency, but the override codes aren't working. It's as if something has locked the human inside." Lysera turned to Raveth. His smile faltered under her gaze. "What have you done?" "I ensured the problem would solve itself, Your Majesty. The human will be trapped in the labyrinth until his mind breaks. A tragic accident." "These things happen. You fool," she hissed. "If he dies in there under suspicious circumstances, it will prove to Earth that we fear them. It will give them exactly the justification they need to unite against us. Then we destroy Earth before they can unite. My fleet is ready." "Your fleet will stand down," the Queen said coldly, "or you will face charges of treason." Inside the labyrinth, Taijin had no idea about the drama unfolding outside. He was too focused on the changing corridors around him. He could feel the trap now. The labyrinth was designed to be inescapable. Once you entered, the only way out was to reach the center or to break mentally. But he could also feel something else. His abilities were growing stronger with each challenge. The more he used them, the more natural they became. He wasn't just seeing the patterns anymore. He was beginning to understand how to change them. An idea formed. Dangerous, probably impossible. But maybe his only chance. Instead of trying to navigate to the center, he reached out with his mind and touched the labyrinth itself. He felt its structure, its purpose, the energy that sustained it. And he began to pull. At first, nothing happened. The labyrinth resisted. It was designed by the architects themselves, meant to test beings far more powerful than him. But Taijin had something the architects had never anticipated. He had their own genetic legacy, awakened and growing stronger by the moment. He pulled harder. The corridors around him shook. Walls cracked. The very fabric of the psychic space began to tear. In the observation room, alarms screamed. Every monitor showed chaos. The labyrinth was destabilizing. "Get everyone out," the Queen ordered. "Evacuate all personnel from this sector." "What about the human?" someone asked. "He's causing this," she said quietly, "and I don't think anything we do will stop him now." Taijin gave one final pull. Something inside him that had been dormant for millions of years fully awakened. Power flooded through him. Not physical power. Something deeper. The ability to see reality as it truly was and to shape it through will alone. The labyrinth shattered. But Taijin didn't just escape. He took a piece of it with him. As he stepped back into the physical world, he held in his hand something that shouldn't exist. A fragment of the psychic realm made solid. It glowed with inner light and responded to his thoughts. The observation room was in chaos. Technicians ran back and forth. Guards drew their weapons, not sure what to do. And Queen Lysera stood frozen, staring at the impossible thing he held. Taijin looked at the glowing fragment in his hands. With a thought, he shaped it. It became a small crystal that pulsed with light. He set it down on a nearby table where it continued to shine. "The trial is complete," he said simply. No one spoke. What he had done was impossible. The psychic and physical realms were separate. They couldn't be mixed. Every law of physics, every understanding of reality said it couldn't be done. But the crystal sat on the table, undeniable proof that he had done exactly that. Queen Lysera finally found her voice. "Guards, take Commander Raveth into custody. Charges of sabotage and attempted murder." She looked at the commander coldly. "Your fear has made you foolish. This one action may have doomed us all. As guards dragged the protesting commander away, the queen turned to Taijin. Her expression was unreadable. You have passed the second trial, but we both know there cannot be a third. What you have shown today proves that humanity is too dangerous to be allowed to continue unchecked. Dangerous? We've done nothing but defend ourselves and prove our worth. You have demonstrated power that hasn't been seen in millions of years, power that brought the architects themselves to ruin. Can you blame me for being afraid? Taijin met her eyes. Yes, I can. Because fear is what causes wars. Fear is what destroys civilizations. We came here in peace asking only for a chance, and you responded with threats and sabotage. The queen was silent for a long moment. Then she made a decision. There will be a final trial, not like the others. You will face me directly. If you win, humanity will be granted full status and all rights. If I win, Earth will accept quarantine. Your species will remain confined to your solar system until we are certain you can control your abilities. And if I refuse, then I will have no choice but to see you as a threat. My fleet will move on Earth. I do not want this, but I cannot allow an unchecked power to exist in my galaxy. Taijin understood. This had gone beyond the trials now. This was about the future of both their peoples. One way or another it would end tomorrow. I accept, he said. The queen nodded. Tomorrow at dawn, we will fight in the cosmic arena. There, in a realm between dimensions, we will settle this. She left without another word. The room slowly cleared until only Taijin remained, standing next to the glowing crystal he had created. He picked it up and felt its warmth. This was just a fraction of what he could do, what humanity could do. But was it enough to face a queen who had ruled for 500 years? A being who had absorbed the life Fadon came too quickly. Taijin had spent the night studying the data crystal and talking with Haiwan and Wujin. They had offered advice and encouragement, but in the end they all knew the truth. This was beyond their help. He would face the queen alone. The cosmic arena was not a physical place. It existed between dimensions, in a space where reality was fluid. Only beings with sufficient power could even enter it. The fact that Taijin could step through the portal at all was proof of how much he had changed in just a few days. The space beyond was strange. Colors that had no name, sounds that came from everywhere and nowhere. The ground beneath his feet was solid but looked like flowing water. Above him, stars wheeled in patterns that hurt to look at. Queen Lysara was already there, waiting at the center of the arena. She had changed. Her appearance was still beautiful, but now he could see the power radiating from her. She glowed with inner light. The air around her bent and twisted. You came, she said. Part of me hoped you would choose wisdom over pride. But I see now that humans are as stubborn as the old records claim. It's not pride, Taijin replied. It's principle. We won't accept limits placed on us out of fear. We won't be caged because others are afraid of what we might become. Then let us see what you have become. She raised her hand and reality itself responded. The attack came faster than thought. Energy lanced through the air, powerful enough to destroy planets. Taijin barely managed to throw up a defense. The impact sent him flying backward. He crashed into the ground and felt his bones crack despite his enhanced durability. He struggled to his feet. Already his body was healing, but not fast enough. The queen was holding back. This was just a warning shot. I have absorbed the life force of thousands of challengers, Lysara said calmly. Each defeat made me stronger. I have studied every form of combat known to the galaxy. I can manipulate time itself within this arena. What hope do you have? She attacked again. This time Taijin saw it coming and dodged. But the attack curved in midair, following him. It struck his shoulder and he felt his arm go numb. The smell of burned flesh filled his nostrils. He tried to counterattack, throwing his own energy blast. Lysara simply waved her hand and it dissipated like smoke. She was right. The difference in their power was enormous. He had days of experience. She had centuries. Do you see now? She asked. This is not about fear or pride. It is about reality. You are powerful, yes. But power without wisdom is dangerous. Withdraw. Accept the quarantine. Give your species time to learn control. Taijin knelt on the ground, bleeding and exhausted. Part of him wanted to agree. To accept defeat and go home. At least Earth would survive. But another part of him, the part that carried the legacy of the architects, refused to give up. He closed his eyes and reached deep inside himself. Past the pain, past the fear, to the core of what he had become. And there in that quiet space he found understanding. The Queen had said it herself. She had absorbed power from thousands of beings, taken their strength and made it her own. That was how she had become so powerful. Through domination. Through taking. But that wasn't the way of the architects. They hadn't conquered or dominated. They had created. They had built. They had given rather than taken. And humanity had inherited that same principle. Humans didn't survive through being the strongest or the fastest. They survived through cooperation, through building communities, through sharing knowledge and working together. That was their true power. Taejin opened his eyes and stood. His wounds were still bleeding, but he didn't care. He reached out not with force, but with understanding. He touched the fabric of the arena itself and felt its nature. It was a space designed for combat, for conflict, for determining dominance through strength. But it didn't have to be. He began to change it. Not violently like he had done with the mind labyrinth. Gently. He showed the space what it could be instead of what it was. A place of creation rather than destruction. A place where differences could be celebrated rather than fought over. The colors around them shifted. The harsh angular shapes softened. The arena resisted at first, but Taejin persisted. Not forcing, inviting, showing possibility. Lisara felt the change and her eyes widened. "What are you doing?" "Showing you a different way," Taejin said. He reached out further, touching not just the arena but the space around them, the very reality they stood in, and he created something new. A vision formed in the air between them, not an illusion like in the mind labyrinth. This was real, a true glimpse of what could be. It showed the galaxy as it was now. Thousands of species, each separate, each competing for resources and power. Wars flaring up constantly. Entire civilizations rising and falling. And at the center, the Veltharan Empire, holding everything together through fear and military might. Then the vision shifted. It showed what the galaxy could become. The same species, but working together, sharing their strengths. Humans contributing their adaptability and creativity. The Veltharan contributing their stability and experience. The Crothians their strength. Others their unique gifts. In this vision, the empire didn't disappear. It evolved. It became not a ruling power, but a guiding one, a center around which others could orbit freely. And humanity didn't conquer or dominate. They became partners, contributors to something larger than themselves. This is humanity's true power, Taejin said. Not the ability to destroy, not the strength to dominate, but the capacity to imagine something better and the will to build it. We've done it on our own world countless times. Taken enemies and turned them into friends. Taken division and created unity. The Queen stared at the vision. Her expression had changed. The cold certainty was gone. Now she looked uncertain, conflicted. "You show me dreams," she said quietly. "But dreams are not reality. In the real galaxy, the strong survive and the weak serve or die. That is the way it has always been." "Because that's the only way you've known," Taejin replied. "But it doesn't have to be. The architects fell because they became isolated. They became so powerful that they forgot how to connect with others. They stopped creating and started controlling. And that destroyed them." He stepped closer to her and she didn't attack. "You said you've ruled for 500 years. You've absorbed the power of thousands. But are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Or are you just alone at the top of a mountain, surrounded by those who fear you rather than respect you?" For the first time, Lisara looked her age. The weight of centuries showed in her eyes. "What would you have me do? Give up my power? Let chaos reign? No, use your power differently. Not to control, but to inspire. Not to dominate, but to guide. You have the wisdom of centuries. That's valuable. But pair it with the fresh perspective of younger species like humanity. Together we could build something that lasts not through fear, but through genuine cooperation." The vision between them grew brighter, more detailed. In it, they could see specific possibilities. Human engineers working with Veltharan scientists to solve problems neither could solve alone. Crothian warriors training alongside human strategists. Art and music and ideas flowing freely between worlds. Lisara reached out and touched the vision. It responded to her, showing her angles she hadn't seen, possibilities she hadn't considered. Slowly, her expression changed again. The hardness faded. Something like hope replaced it. "You offer me an alternative to endless vigilance," she said. "A future where I don't have to be the galaxy's warden but could be its teacher instead." Yes, but it requires trust. On both sides, she was silent for a long time. The vision hung between them, showing endless possibilities. Finally, she lowered her hand. The power that had been building for another attack dissipated. "You have won," she said simply, not through superior force, but through superior vision. The architects would be proud. The arena around them began to fade. They returned to the physical station. The observation room was packed with witnesses. Every important being in the galaxy seemed to be present. They had expected to see combat. Instead, they had witnessed something unprecedented. Queen Lysera addressed the assembled crowd. Her voice carried to every corner of the room and beyond, transmitted to millions of worlds. "Today marks the end of an era and the beginning of another. The human Taijin has completed the trials of ascension in a way no one has before. He has shown us not just strength but wisdom, not just power but purpose." She turned to face him directly. "Humanity is hereby granted full status in the galactic community. You will have a seat on the council. Your voice will be heard. And more than that, I propose a new alliance, one built not on dominance but on partnership." The crowd erupted. Some cheered. Others protested. Many simply looked confused. This was change on a massive scale. The old order was being challenged, but change, Taijin reflected, was what humans did best. Over the following weeks, the vision he had shown the Queen began to take shape. Diplomatic channels opened. Trade agreements were negotiated. But more importantly, conversations started. Real dialogues between species that had never truly understood each other before. High Scholar Nethra became Earth's ambassador to the greater galactic community. The old scholar took to the role with enthusiasm, finally able to share the knowledge that had been